It's really interesting, the history of small parties.
Yeah.
Small, sort of independent parties that are driven by vision and principle.
Yeah.
There's just, if you look back over the history of small parties, which I have only begun to do myself, it's amazing how the small parties are mixing and matching and meshing and then dividing. And if you look at what went on, for example, before the Republican Party emerged, which then became the vehicle for the abolition movement,
Right.
in the mid 1800s, you had the Free Soil Party before that, and then you had the I think it was the Liberty Party that eventually emerged out of the Free Soil Party.
Right.
The Free Soil Party was about having new states have abolition, so that
Sure.
as new states were created, that they wouldn't have slavery. This was a big deal,
Right.
as the U.S. was coming to terms with its criminal history with the institution of slavery. And it took a while for that to acquire political power, and it went through many permutations,
Sure.
from Free Soil to the Liberty Party, which was clearly focused on abolition, and then to the Republican Party,
Right.
which then gained prominence and became a major party,
Right.
which makes the point, I think, that
That's
things evolve,
Yes.
and that at a time of political transition, we need a political voice for a social movement.
Right.
And things are very fluid right now,
Right.
in all kinds of ways. And I think the role that the Green Party has played is that we've been the survivor, we've been the sole survivor as independent, non-corporate politics at a national scale. That the other parties that were launched around the time we were, like, the New Party or the
Right.
Labor Party, for that matter,
Yeah.
launched with a whole lot more infrastructure and more resources and money.
Yeah.
They're nowhere to be seen now, and why have we survived? I think we've survived because, once you've seen the light, you can't go back again.
Right.
Once
No,
you
that's right.
understand what's going on, sort of the inherent unity of, it's like the indigenous people who have an understanding of Mother Earth.
Right.
Once you understand Mother Earth, you can't forget that
Right.
humanity and nature are one.
Right.
We're absolutely one, and we have to live in a way that is sustainable and harmonious and just and peaceful.
Right.
And that's where our motto comes from in this campaign and much of the party,
Yeah.
that it's people, planet, and peace over profit. And that's going to prevail. It's funny because from my perspective, I see things coming together. At a
Right.
micro level, there are debates about how we unify and when we unify, but history is solving that debate.
I don't have a hard party stance. I will find I will help create change. I'm not sure I care if it's the socialist alternative, the Green Party, anybody
Yeah.
that's going to do
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
for me, but
Sure.
so
Yeah.
that's where that argument gets, with everybody.
I
right?
don't see it as an argument myself.
Right. Oh, okay, right.
I really don't, because I think history is settling this argument.
Yeah.
And this is a big wake-up moment right now for people who hoped that important things would happen in the Democratic Party. And they're being, history is deciding that discussion right now.
Right.
And there's no question about where it's going to go. And after you watch this go around the block enough times, you realize it's never going to happen in the Democratic Party. And not just Democrats. It's just good things are not going to happen within structures that are controlled by predatory banks, fossil fuel giants, and war profiteers, that we
Right.
need non-corporate politics.
Right.
And that's the whole point for building an independent political party. In my own work over the decades, mostly as a social activist, and then late in life I became active in a political domain. So I share the view that it's the social movement that drives us. But I also have come to understand that we have to fight power. As Frederick Douglass says, power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has and it never will. That
Right.
demand has to be brought into the voting booth, into the political universe. And if you fight on corporate territory, guess what? When the fight's over, you are being evaporated. You're being
Right.
disappeared. You're going away. Your resources will be reabsorbed back by the predator and used against you. And after you go through this enough, you realize, oh, now I understand why we have an independent party. And there are so many people right now, I think, who are learning this and living this, that it's going to benefit us in the long run. And I myself am grateful to the Sanders campaign
Yeah.
for having lifted this up. So as we say, they could climb the mountain, but they can't go to the promised land. It's just not going to happen in the Democrats. But we needed them to climb the mountain.
Right.
So personally, I see this as just part of how we move forward. And I hope we come out of this understanding the value of an independent political party and continue to build that. Because that's the only way that we salvage all the work that's been done
Right.
by the Sanders campaign
Right.
and make sure that it goes forward. So, and I think we're at a much more desperate point in history now where we
Yeah.
cannot afford the back and forth because the Democrats, like
Won't there
the
still be a
Republicans,
fight? No matter who gets elected in the fall. It doesn't matter who gets elected. Everyone is so passionate.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think? I mean, this is going to be a pretty interesting year, I think. Just
exactly.
no matter who's in office. I don't know which direction
Well,
it'll go, but
I wouldn't sell yourself short
all right.
as a social movement that deserves to take power.
Yeah.
And I would stand up and push back against the assumption that we're just here to be a footnote in the conversation or that we're here to raise issues. We are here to take power because if we don't, there will be no life, on the planet from
Right.
which to fight for power going forward. Do we have a few years to play with? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But
No.
in my view, we just, eyes on the prize here and
Yeah.
all hands on deck because the clock is ticking.
Yep.
Democracy needs a moral compass. It also needs the solutions that only we can bring to the table as a non-corporate party. And the Green Party is the only national party that is not poisoned by corporate money.
Yep.
It's written into our DNA. We don't accept it. This is, I see a lot of the small parties coming together is what I'm seeing from my national
Right.
perspective.
Right,
Because
right.
we're seeing so many of the socialists and peace and freedom
Yeah.
all come together to work together in our campaign.
Yep.
I heard Shama Sawant say on
I have a hard
Democracy
time with-
Now!
yep.
Last night,
Yep.
yesterday, actually, she actually said that she would be supporting our campaign, which is she's
Good.
been sort of reluctant to say because she's been
Well, that
kind
was-
of cozying up to Bernie's campaign. But there's been a role for that. There's been
Sure.
an important role. So I don't begrudge anybody for wending their way to the same place. But I think where we go forward from here is that we really need to
Imagine-
go all out, and we need to forget the lesser evil, and we
Right.
need to fight for the greater good, like our lives depend on it, recognizing that they do depend on it. It's us and nobody else that's going to fix it. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We need to stand up, all hands on deck, time to go all out. We can create that world, and an America and a world that
Nice.
works for all of us.
That's right.
And we got to do that now.
Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you, Ron. Great talking with
Yeah.
you.
Thanks. That's it. Thanks so much, guys. I got